Welcome back to another episode of EDCdwd, where we take a look at everyday items and figure out if they actually make every day better. Today we're going to be taking a look at two mobile videography and photography setups that are both able to fit in your pocket. We're going to be comparing the Osmo Pocket to the Moment Lens setup. I'm not going to be going in depth into really how to use either system. However, I am going to be talking about some of their main uses and showing some of the footage that I actually took while out using each of these systems. Each one of these products has their own strengths and weaknesses, and I'm going to be going over each of those in a little bit of detail. Let's check out that spec sheet. Now, the first product we're going to be taking a look at is the Osmo Pocket. This is a $369 gimbal stabilized photography and videography machine. Hard to believe in something this small. Offers about 2 or so hours of battery life. Does both HD 60 and 4K 60. It has an equivalent focal length, equivalent 35 millimeter focal length of 25.7 millimeters. ISO range of 100 to 3200. It shoots in both JPEG and RAW, and it connects directly to your phone through this little connector here. The first lens that I'm going to be talking about is the Moment anamorphic lens. It adds some really cool light flares to your cinematography as you are actually shooting with this lens. It comes in about $150, and that's just for the lens alone. We're going to talk about what the accessories are that you need to actually utilize the lens. It shoots in this 1.33x crop factor, or a 2.4 to 1 cinescope crop factor, and what that means is that it basically shoots in true widescreen. So those black bars that you see are natural on the screen, as opposed to being added in and actually cropping out some of your picture. It works with both iPhone and Android, depending on the case that you have. The next lens we're going to talk about is the telephoto lens. This comes in at about $120. It is made out of aerospace grade materials. It achieves about a 2 to 4x optical zoom. We'll talk about why that's important in a second. It has about a 58 millimeter equivalent focal length. It also works for both iPhone and Android, and it's mainly going to be used for that portrait photography. Each one of these products has their uses. When we're thinking about the Osmo Pocket specifically, we're thinking of people who are maybe going to be using this for vlogging, doing quick photo or video work, putting something actually physically in their pocket that is much smaller than a real camera, that offers something with pretty similar quality overall. Now, the other thing that's really special about this is that it is gimbal stabilized. And again, for something that fits in your pocket, that's absolutely incredible. When you look at the Moment setup, we're gonna only see that digital stabilization that comes with your phone, which isn't bad, but it is also not the best thing for filmmaking, movie making of any kind. The other thing that this is going to allow you to do is kind of low budget filmmaking. This offers 4K 60, which is unbelievable. My real camera, which I'm shooting on right now, does not offer me 4K 60. So if I do want to shoot something in that super high quality with that good high frame rate, it's something that I can do directly with the Osmo Pocket. Some of the pros of utilizing something like the Osmo Pocket is, again, that it is gimbal stabilized, which is a huge advantage when you are just moving around trying to get really steady shots, really steady panning shots that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise. The other cool thing about this is that it does just sit on flat surfaces. So when you do put it down, you can utilize the gimbal in some pretty unique ways that you wouldn't normally be able to do with just a phone or some other equipment, even a real camera that's not on a gimbal. A couple of those features are things like panoramic mode. If you've ever tried to take a panoramic with your phone, oftentimes it does not come out that good. It's pretty hard to actually get stable and make sure that you get a clean shot. What this does is that it takes 4 consecutive pictures in a 180-degree view, and then it seamlessly stitches those 4 pictures together, so you always get that perfect panorama. The other thing that you can do with this that you can't do with your phone is it can actually take a 9-picture 3x3 to get that super wide viewing angle on a picture that you wouldn't normally be able to get. The other real pro of utilizing something like the Osmo Pocket is that you can utilize key features like hyperlapse and motion lapse. You're going to use either of these features when you're trying to tell a story maybe over a certain amount of time, something that you couldn't show them walking, you couldn't show a person walking for 15 minutes through a city, but if you were to put that into a hyperlapse or into a motion lapse, it might come across in 10 seconds. And that viewer is going to get to experience that with you in just a few seconds. If you're familiar with YouTube videos and you watch a lot of them like I do, you've probably seen this mode used quite a bit. One person that I like to follow who does do this a lot is Andy Toe, and ultimately he has some fantastic city shots and city movies that he's made that showcase this kind of feature. I've been talking a lot about the positives of the Osmo Pocket. Let's talk a little bit about the negatives. First and foremost, I think this one is going to be huge for people. It really detracts from my use of this, is that the focus is awful. It almost never actually focuses on what you want it to focus on, and that is a struggle. If you're taking nice landscape shots, it's not as big of a deal, but when you're trying to take portraits, when you're trying to get people in a frame, the autofocusing struggles really, really hard. The other thing that's kind of bittersweet is this screen on the back here. Though it is nice to have a screen directly on this, it makes it a lot more usable right out of the box. The screen is really, really small. You can't see what's actually happening on the screen. And, you know, when we're going back to that focus issue, for example, you have no idea whether or not your shot is in focus. So the screen, as cool as it is to have a small screen on this tiny little package and put it in your pocket, it's not as usable as you might actually think. The other thing about this that is not the greatest is that it's got a really small sensor. So you're not going to get a ton of high dynamic range. Your blacks are going to lose a lot of their detail, and your whites or your highlights are also going to lose a lot of their detail. So as long as you're compensating for that with the exposure and with the manual settings, you can probably still get some pretty good and crisp shots, but I wouldn't expect a ton of high dynamic range here. Oh. Future David here. I was in the middle of editing my video and I realized that I completely forgot to shoot this entire section. So lesson from the future, if you have a shot list, you're a lot more likely to actually get all the shots you need and shoot all the footage you need. Any moment lens is going to be used to enhance that mobile photography and videography, and it's going to be used to enhance what camera we all keep with us in our pocket and probably closest to all times, which is our phone. It also allows you to get those professional looking finishes. So especially with the telephoto lens, we're used to taking things like portrait mode photos now on pretty much any advanced phone. This is going to help you achieve that without that digital portrait mode. So it's not going to digitally blur the background. It's going to add that nice bokeh, that nice blur through the optical lens here. The other nice thing about using moment lenses is it encourages you to use one of those pro apps. And those pro apps are going to be awesome because they take a lot more advantage of the actual phone and the sensor within your phone. So it takes that camera that's already pretty powerful and makes it that much more powerful. I'm going to show you a little bit of what it's like to use the ProTake app, which I actually love. It gives you full manual settings. And what that means is that you can have full control over the white balance. As you can see here, I'm shifting between some of the times of day, which is going to shift that white balance and shift that temperature. You can shift the ISO right from the actual screen where you're taking footage. So it makes it really easy in your workflow to change that ISO. Also helps you change or allows you to change that shutter speed. So these pro modes are going to help you achieve that look that you're going for, whether it's pro Instagram or all the way to a cinematographer trying to actually post a movie, maybe something on YouTube directly from your phone. Let's talk about some of the pros and the cons of the moment lens setup. Now, I have two of these lenses, the telephoto and the anamorphic, as we have been talking about. And the first one that I want to talk about is the telephoto lens. This is the one with the 58mm equivalent. And what this is going to do is allow you to take those really nice, crisp photos with about a 2 to 4x optical zoom. You can achieve something pretty similar with digital zoom. However, you're going to introduce a ton of noise into your photo. And if you've ever done this on your phone by just zooming in with your fingers, you start to see that graininess and that noise. What this allows you to do, because of that optical zoom, it's going to actually just punch in the photo without losing any of the actual detail of that picture. So big advantage if you are trying to really do as easy of photography as possible by really just taking your phone and one piece of glass maybe in your pocket or something like that. The other thing to remember with this, the other big advantage, is that once you've actually taken a picture, remember, you can always digitally zoom. You don't have to always do it in the moment. You can punch that picture in later on your computer or even on your phone by just cropping it, and it's going to end up being or looking a lot better than when you use that digital zoom in general anyways. Let's quickly understand some of the cons of using the moment lenses. Now, I've shown you things that we can either put on our pocket, in our backpack, things that we can carry with us every day that make it easier. And this overall is definitely a small package to help do that. But when we think about the different steps associated with using a moment lens, it's pulling out your phone, pulling out your moment lens, actually attaching it, opening up the app, or opening up your phone, unlocking your phone, and then opening up your app before you're actually shooting. It kind of takes away from that spontaneity of using your phone. So to an extent, you really would need to use this with some of those planned shots. I wouldn't be using this to just take pictures of my kids, for example, or my dog. So I wouldn't want to use this as kind of an action cam. This is something where I'm planning out the shots that I'm going to be taking, and then I'm going to use it just to enhance and take those shots. So it kind of loses points in the spontaneity category, but otherwise these are pretty much a dream to use. Let's talk a little bit about accessorizing each of these setups. We're going to start with the Osmo Pocket as usual here, and what's nice about the Osmo Pocket is that it comes with everything you need out of the box. It comes with a phone connector for iPhone and for Android. This is the iPhone one. I lost the Android one. It comes with the charger, and it also comes with a hard carrying case. So pretty much everything you need to go right out of the box, and being able to connect it to your phone makes it immediately more useful. You have that bigger screen, you have access to more functionality. Now, this has been out for maybe about a year and a half or so, and a few different companies have gotten into the accessories game. The first thing that I would get for the Osmo Pocket is actually the sound connector. So this takes a 3.5mm sound jack or sound cord and allows you to plug it in through USB-C directly into the Osmo Pocket. The reason I would get this is because the microphone on this is okay at best. If you're right here, right in front of it, it's not too bad, but you still get quite a bit of distortion, a lot of wind noise. So adding that microphone would just make it a lot better for recording other people's sound, or if you're somebody like me trying to vlog, trying to record yourself, using that external microphone. The second item that I'd recommend getting is something that actually extends the functionality quite a bit, and it's the expansion pack that you can get directly from DJI. It comes with these two pieces, as well as a mounting kit for basically your bike, or you mount to any of those GoPro accessories if you've seen any of those types of mounts before. Now, the reason I recommend getting this expansion kit specifically is because of these two pieces right here. The piece on my right here creates a wireless network for the Osmo Pocket. So you plug it in directly to the bottom, just like so. And now it not only has a flatter surface to stay upright, but it is completely wireless. So I can connect it to my phone, I can go put it somewhere, and then take group photos, set up a time lapse, do something that maybe isn't gonna require me to be right next to it. The other piece, the one on my left here, sits where the actual phone connector would plug in, and it basically extends the functionality that you'll have directly on the Osmo Pocket. So it adds these two buttons here, which add a couple of bits of functionality, and then it also has this wheel, which gives you much finer control over the actual gimbal movement. That's going to be the up-down movement and the left-right movement. The last thing from DJI that I have purchased that I think would be worth getting, depending on what it is you're trying to do, if you're more geared towards videography, cinematography, outdoor footage, I would highly recommend getting a set of ND filters. And this is the one directly from DJI. It comes in this tiny compartment or tiny package, which is really nice when you're packing up and trying to go, again, trying to make this as mobile as possible, something that fits in your pocket. And it comes with ND filters all the way from ND4 to ND32. So it's a pretty good set. These ND filters are really going to help you add that motion blur to your videography or cinematography. So highly recommend getting at least a set of ND filters. These ones from DJI are pretty good. The other ND filters I have, and now I'm going to switch away from DJI, is this set from Polar Pro. So this gives me ND32, ND64, and then a couple of circular polarizers as well in that same ND category. So I just got these for, again, being outside in harsher light. I found that the 32 from DJI, or the max of 32, really wasn't cutting it for me, so I had to go find something else. And the Polar Pro one is pretty good, comes in this nice hard container. I feel pretty confident in these, and again, it's all magnetic, so everything is going to stay in its place. The other item from Polar Pro that I've tested, which I actually think is a really cool piece, is the Polar Pro grip. And what this does is it allows you to mount your Osmo Pocket directly into this grip here with these 1/4-inch threads. It also adds a couple of 1/4-inch threads all together. It adds 3 total once you have it in here. So 1 on top, and 2 on the bottom, which are going to be really helpful if you are, again, adding mics, adding lighting to your setup. And this grip here also allows you to pull your phone directly in and plug it in and keep it really self-contained. So that connector that I showed earlier, this one, is super tiny. It's not something that I would say is really secure, is going to keep your phone safe. And honestly, I'd say this probably runs the risk of breaking. So having something like this grip, which can fit a phone in it is really helpful. Now, I have an iPhone 11 Pro Max, so it's pretty much the biggest iPhone you can get, and it stretches this all the way to the limit. So if you've got a phone that's bigger than that, it's probably not going to work for you. There are a lot of other items that you can get for the Osmo Pocket. It has a pretty robust third-party network now between Polar Pro and Freewell and DJI themselves, and even Moment, actually, the competitor that we're looking at here, all sell different either ND filters or accessories for the Osmo Pocket. DJI has a couple of really cool ones, like a waterproof case or an extension rod that can really take what you can do with the Osmo Pocket and turn it into anything from an action cam all the way up to a cinematography or secondary cinematography device. Now that we've talked about the Osmo Pocket, let's talk about the Moment lenses and what you might need as far as accessories to get these going. It's a little different because you do need at least one accessory in order for this to work. The one accessory that I went with is the phone case. So I have the iPhone 11 Pro Max. I got the iPhone 11 Pro Max case, and what it does or allows you to do is very easily and simply kind of just mount these on directly to the case, so it fits perfectly on, and it also aligns perfectly to the camera on your phone. The other option that you could go with for the must-have accessory is something called the mount, which basically screws on directly onto your phone, but you're going to be doing the alignment yourself. So it's a little trickier to use, it's a little more finicky. It's not going to give you as an exact alignment, and honestly, cost comparison is probably not going to be worth the money difference. Now, the other thing that I don't want to say you need, but would be a great improvement for you when using something like a Moment lens, is going to be a professional app of some kind. So there's the Moment app itself, which I think runs about $6 on the App Store. Then there's also apps like ProTake and Filmic Pro. The reason why you want to use any of those apps is because they give you a lot more control over your camera. If you look at the iPhone camera app, it is pretty weak overall. It doesn't give you a lot of control. They just released functionality that allows you to switch between the different frame rate directly in the app. So I think it's still quite a bit behind, and I don't expect it to get any better anytime soon. So I would definitely invest in one of those apps as well. All right, I've been talking about 2 different Moment lenses the whole time, and I typically carry them in this little leather carrying case. I really like this. I think it adds good protection. It carries exactly 2 lenses, has room for a little lens cleaner, which I also got from Moment, and it actually attaches to your backpack or your belt, depending on how you want to wear it. So you can just strap this onto your backpack, and then you've got your lenses kind of at your hand at all times, so you don't have to keep them attached to your phone or anything like that. And it keeps the entire package just in here. So it makes it really easy to actually go about taking these lenses places and using them, which is kind of the most important part about having gear, right? If you have gear that's inconvenient to use, you're never going to use it. It doesn't actually make every day better. But I do like these Moment lenses, and I do like this small compartment that they come in. The other thing that I purchased that I really like for Moment is this 62mm mount, which basically converts the lens to 62mm overall so that you can use different lens filters on the lens, like a variable ND filter, for example. You can just screw that on like you normally would for your camera. So if you have a camera already and you have some of those accessories, you can swap them in to use them on the Moment lenses, which I think is actually fantastic. It also comes with a couple of these basically rubberized rings that you can slide in and out of this piece, so you can attach them to any one of the Moment lenses. It's not specific to any one lens, so I've used them on the anamorphic as well as the telephoto. All right, we're coming up to the end of our comparison here, and it's time to go through the categories and see which ones did better. In terms of accessories, I would pretty much call it a wash. I think that they both have a good pool of accessories. The one thing that I will say for Moment in particular is that their accessories are gonna have a little more longevity. This camera in and of itself is gonna become outdated at some point. Because these are just glass, they're really just bending light, and they're made for that. They're going to upgrade with your phone. Whenever you get a new phone and get to use a new sensor on your phone, they're going to create these new cases, and you're going to be able to continue to use this glass on pretty much any one of your new phones, at least as far as I can anticipate. That's what they've done in the past. I think that they're going to keep doing that in the future. In terms of ease of use, I think they both have pretty good ease of use overall, but again, I'm going to give it to the Moment setup here, just because, again, it's so easy to quickly pull that out, snap it on, and get to shooting. With the Osmo Pocket, even though it is quick to start shooting, because of the small screen size, it does make it a little bit of a risk. You don't necessarily know what you're shooting all the time. You don't always see what's in focus, so you risk kind of not getting the shot that you're looking for. In terms of everyday carryability, I think they're both extremely pocketable. I would actually even maybe give it more to the Osmo Pocket. It is very literally something that you can slip into your pocket pretty easily, and it's gonna remain safe. Especially for the power that it gives you with that gimbal stabilization, it is really kind of an amazing piece of technology that does truly fit in your pocket. And the last category, and this is the most important for me, is does it actually make every day better? If you're somebody who does like to shoot video and photo with your phone in particular, or as you're out and on the go, do either of these actually enhance that experience? And I do actually think that the Moment lenses enhance that experience tremendously. You can take what is an average photo or an average piece of video and turn it into something that looks really cool, nice, interesting, professional, even when you're thinking about the anamorphic lens and the flair that it can add for a really cheap price for the average consumer to add to your phone. These are really a pleasure to use, and I love the overall quality that comes out of them. With the Osmo Pocket, even though it is easy to use, it's easy to put in your pocket, it's easy to take out and actually start shooting, the quality is not really dependable, and that really hurts when I want to use something like this, because if I can't have the quality that I want, it almost makes it useless to me. It almost makes it a hindrance as far as whether or not it actually enhances my everyday experience. So at the end of the day, my recommendation would be to go with Moment lenses or some sort of lens glass setup that adds to your phone. That's going to ultimately enhance your phone sensor and enhance your everyday experience. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, do all those things. Help me build my channel, please. But more importantly, let me know if you already use these lenses, if you already use the Osmo Pocket, what your experience has been like. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for checking out another episode of EDCdwd. I'll check you all on the next one.